Federal Court of Canada recently upheld a ruling that classified Nigeria's political parties, APC and PDP, as terrorist organizations, while denying asylum to a former member, Douglas Egareva, over his decades-long affiliation with both parties. Now, in a judgment delivered on the 17th of June, 2025, Justice Fuong Ungo dismissed this man's application for judicial review after the Immigration Appeal Division, IAD, found him inadmissible under Canada's Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, IRPA. Now, according to the People's Gazette, the Ministry of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness had argued that the APC and PDP were implicated in political violence, subversion of democracy, and electoral bloodshed in Nigeria. All for more on this, Arise News analyst Daisha Wali joins us now. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this afternoon. I find this really interesting. And just to clarify that the legal basis for this is the Immigration and Refugee Protections Act, Canada's main statute governing immigration, refugee protection, and border enforcement. And they're saying that based off of activities within Nigeria, the APC and PDP should be considered terrorist organizations. What is your take on this?
A lot of nonsense. It's crass nonsense. Just because you don't want one single Nigerian to enter your country, you don't delegitimize the whole political system. I don't buy it. At first, when I first saw it from afar.
That is Arise TV's in-house analyst, Ashewale, speaking about the declaration of the People's Democratic Party and the ruling All Progressives Congress in Nigeria, a terrorist organization, by a court in Canada. And Ashewale, who is the in-house analyst, is taking therefore for granted that he is speaking the editorial view of the Arise News organization. And he goofed in his defense, describing what the Canadian courts did by declaring APC and PDP as terrorist organization, calling it a lot of nonsense. And then went on to say that just because you don't want to give one single Nigerian permission to enter your country, you are delegitimizing a whole system. You are delegitimizing a whole political system. This political system he's talking about is what P2B used to refer to as the criminal enterprise in Nigeria, whereby people are traumatized, terrorized by the political elite, and the choice of the people does not matter. It's only the will of the elites in APC who are now in power, because APC are the ones that we have to talk about their activities that is right now in the front burner. Because the issue at stake was that, is it justified to describe APC and PDP as terrorist organization by the Canadian courts? Okay, the Canadian court was acting based on its own jurisdiction in Canada over an immigration case of a Nigerian who confessed that he was a member of the PDP and the All Progressives Congress for several years. Now, first of all, for us to understand and deconstruct this verdict, and which is what the analyst of TVC failed to do. First of all, before he began to criticize, did he define what is terrorism? Who is a terrorist? Does APC and PDP qualify to be described as terrorist organization? Who is a terrorist? What is terrorism? That is what we need to deconstruct first. And that was what the analyst failed to do, instead of just dismissing it as arrant nonsense. That what the court in Germany, in Canada did, that they were delegitimizing a whole system. The whole system is already delegitimized by the report of the European Union Monitoring Group on the 2023 election in Nigeria. That report delegitimizes the whole system in Nigeria because they call to question the election that brought to power those who are in power today. That report, go and read the report and go and read the reaction of the APC, because that report was a damning verdict on their emergence. So they dismissed it and they protested against it. Now, first of all, let us look at the core issue. What is terrorism and who is a terrorist? Different countries define what is called a terrorist. Even here in Nigeria, the Nigerian government went to court and declared IPOB a terrorist organization. But all over the world, nobody agrees with them that IPOB is a terrorist organization. IPOB is operating in London, it's operating in UK, it's operating in the United States. In fact, the present chief of staff to Donald Trump, the present chief of staff, is a lobbyist for IPOB in Washington, showing you that the international community has no regard for Nigeria's declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization. But that is just to show you that different nations define what they consider a terrorist organization. So if Nigeria can define IPOB as a terrorist organization, Canada court also has the right to declare Nigeria, PDP and APC terrorist organization. But first of all, let us look at what is terrorism, because we need to understand what is a terrorist. Then we will now look at APC and PDP. Now we just base our own on APC because they are the ones in charge right now, and look at them whether they fit into the definition of a terrorist organization. Now, a simple definition of terrorism is using violence. Underline that. Using violence, fear, or threat. Using violence, fear, or threat to force people or government to do something, often for political, religious, or ideological reason. That is the simplest definition of terrorism. Terrorism is using violence, fear, or threat to force people or government to do something, often for political, religious, or ideological reason. Does this fit into the All Progressives Congress? For example, in the last election held in Nigeria. Watch.
Of course, that is my polling unit. So we're insulted, humiliated by the talks there. They said if you are not voting for the APC, that we should leave that place, and they're throwing bottle on us. So we ran outside. So shortly, we called the policemen. They came there, and the man they called Milako took them inside. After they talking with them, then they left again. So people are very, very scared. They came out again like the third time. The army have to intervene. After the army intervened, after army had like 7 of them, then they left. Before we started voting again, they came out again and began to tell us that if we cannot vote in APC, we should leave this place and go to our house. You understand? So we cannot be able to stay there, and there is no any armed person there. The police they have, they cannot even do anything. They even, the police that is there, they even bribe them. So they cannot even have any access to even tell us anything, not to, no confidence for us to stay there. So we are emulated in the election in that place. So
please, if you don't want to wait for us, please sit down for a while. Sit down for a while. Thank you very much. I got the APC, go your house. APC for here, go your house. Nobody forced me come here. Go out, so if I see you vote another, I will call Luca. If I see you vote another party, go ahead our house. You no come joke for here.
So people have been traced away here right at Ikati. These are the ballot boxes that were destroyed by some APC thugs. You can see it. People are being chased away, no one can vote. You can see it. These are the ballot boxes right at Ikati here. And there are so many policemen here that couldn't do anything. And we are being chased away by thugs. Look at the voters are around. No one can vote. Right at Ikati here. You can see it. These are the ballot boxes that was destroyed by some APC thugs. So something has to be done. APC, not what they really expected here at Ikati. And the Oba of Ikati is saying that he's losing his polling unit to the other party. So something has to be done.
That was the violence that characterized the last election in Lagos State in 2023. You have watched it. Does what you saw on that video, does it qualify to be classified as act of terrorism by the definition of terrorism that we just listened to? That terrorism is using violence, fear, or threat to force people or government to do something, often for political, religious, or ideological reason. What do you make of it? Does it fit into a definition of a terrorist organization? What you heard those Nigerians, you saw, what you heard them say, does that qualify to be described as act of terrorism? Whatever is your position, let us hear from you at the comment section. But let me tell you my take on that matter. There is no doubt in my mind that based on the definition we listened to, that the APC in the last election held in Lagos and in many parts of the country, but Lagos is our case study because what happened in Lagos played out in several other parts of Nigeria, qualifies APC to fit into this definition. I'm not the one that came up with this definition. You can Google it yourself. You can go to Google and Google it. You can go to Grok and Google and get it from Grok AI. You can go to ChatGPT. There are so many sources you can get and ask them for a definition of terrorism and tell us if it does not fit into what you saw happened in Lagos. Remember that it was in Lagos that Bayo Onanuga, the present special advisor to the president on information and strategy, threatened the Igbo people of Nigeria and said that 2023 election will be the last time Igbos interfere in an election. So Igbo's participation in an election in Lagos was considered by Bayo Onanuga, speaking for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was considered an interference, not a citizen's participation in an electoral process, and therefore they must not participate again. In fact, there are many people who say that the terrorism has gone beyond the electoral process to the economic lifeline of people of Igbo extraction, leading to very uncharacteristic actions of the Lagos state government, where Igbo properties are destroyed and demolished at will without regard for rule of law. So when you look at what the Canadian government has done, if the other international community begin to rule like this, people will be people will be hiding their identity of being in APC. And that is important, because if now a democracy must survive, we need support from the international community, like from Canada, like from United States, like from United Kingdom. Imagine if UK began to classify APC, PDP, and all political parties that are involved in terrorizing Nigerians during election as terrorist organizations. Their leaders will be forced to allow the electoral process to work, knowing that the eyes of the world are in Nigeria. You may say whatever you like. The Arise analyst can say whatever he likes, but he cannot claim that the video that we saw didn't happen in Lagos. He cannot claim that he's not aware that Nigerians were threatened with violence, and some were even violence were meted to many Nigerians, telling them to vote one way or the other. That is an act of terrorism. And the Canadian court was particular. They said the political leaders did nothing to stop those who were doing this. When MCO, Lomo, and all these other people were in Lagos telling people, if you are not going to vote for APC, don't come out. There was no voice of reason from Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the godfather of Lagos politics, to say, no, don't do this. Don't do it. Don't coerce anybody. Don't threaten anybody. Say, if you know that you are not going to vote for APC, don't come out. Don't talk like that. There was no record of him saying that. There was no record of APC leaders saying, MCO Olomo, you have gone too far. We can't tolerate that. This is a democracy. People have the right. So the court in Canada said the leaders did nothing to stop the violence. And he went on to say that the Nigerian election is characterized by killings, ballot box snatching, destruction of electoral materials, and killings. That's what the Canadian court said, and therefore declares APC and PDP terrorist organization. That is something that we should be praying that the international community, where it matters most, where our leaders used to go often, that they begin to take note and treat them, give them, make this type of treatment out to them, so that they will work for Nigerians, so that they will know that if your time is up, they vote you out, you go. You cannot perpetuate yourself in power. I don't know what to think about the Canadian declaration of APC and PDP as terrorist organization, but as far as the definition that I have seen of what is terrorism and the conduct of the APC in the last election, I think they fitted perfectly into that definition. But as I said, every nation has a right to define who is a terrorist. After all, Nigeria declared IPOP a terrorist organization, but IPOP is received in America as a pressure group that is seeking self-determination. And they have one of their lobbyists now as chief of staff to President Donald Trump. I'm talking about Susie Wills. That's her name. She was a she's a woman that works for IPOP to push their case in America. She's a lobbyist. She had been a lobbyist for IPOP. And she has defended IPOP interests in America, showing that while Nigeria has the right to declare IPOP a terrorist organization, Canada court also has the right, based on its own laws, to declare APC and PDP a terrorist organization. And when you look at the definition of terrorism, APC, as far as the last election was concerned, and what we observed, the video evidence everywhere, fitted into that definition of the Canadian court. But I don't know what you think about this. But whatever is your position, let's hear from you at the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, God will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you, and God bless you and yours.